Contestant number 46. The world we live in today continues to face very many challenges and has continually called upon the younger generations to take action. But when I first heard of the term global citizen from my peace and conflict lecturer, I may not have necessarily liked it on that very hot Monday afternoon. Why? Because I thought it is one of those very complex terms that will take me a while before I grasp, and reading so many books before I understand it. So when she said that that was going to be our assignment for the semester, my heart was heavy. But then again she said, this is something that some of you may have actually been participating in unknowingly, or something that you'd actually want to participate in by the fact that you are youths. And I thought, this is something that I'd want to know. So further into my research, I discovered that a global citizen is someone who is actually aware of the environment that they live in. A global citizen is someone who wants to take an active role in the communities that they live in and to work with others to ensure that the world we live in is more fair and more sustainable and more equal. So necessarily, a global citizen is someone who is actually uncomfortable with the challenges that we are facing, and actually wants to work with others to make the world more better and more sustainable for the coming generations. So necessarily, if a person is to do this, and if one is to describe themselves as a global citizens, then they must have a couple of values. That first of all, they must be aware of the environment that they live in. They must know what goes on politically, economically, socially, environmentally, and simply being aware does not solve the challenges. They must also know how they can be able to solve these challenges using the knowledge that they have acquired from class. The global citizen actually entails the youth taking part in our society. And because the youth are people who, in such a current era of technology and enlightenment, there are people who have actually learned a few things, and therefore a global citizenship will entail them to actually want to put what they have learned to action. But then again, how can they be able to do this? Of course, global citizens need to work with each other, and they can only work with each other by recognizing that all of us face very different challenges, and therefore a global citizen is someone who is able to empathize with the challenges that all of us face and that his peers face or her peers face, and be able to know that we are all different, because in such a current era, in the 21st century, people are different based on religions, based on orientations, based on what we do, what we believe in, and therefore a global citizen is someone who is willing to actually recognize that we are all different, but that everyone deserves to be treated equally, and that means that a global citizen is someone who acts fairly, someone who acts rationally and without judgment or preconceived notions. But then again, a global citizen cannot effect this change on their own. For a global citizen to be able to effect the change that they want to see in the society, they must seek further knowledge. They must be able to seek information. So a global citizen is someone who seeks information, and when they find it, they share the information with their peers. But a global citizen cannot share this information with their peers if they cannot communicate. So a global citizen is someone who is bold and someone who is not afraid to voice their opinions. But then again, because as a human being you cannot always be correct, a global citizen is someone who is willing to say that may have been wrong when challenged, but then someone who is willing to take up new views or new opinions. A global citizen is uncomfortable with the injustices that we face. In the 21st century, in this current era, there are very many challenges that people face: political injustices, social injustices, economical injustices, and even the injustices to our environment. A global citizen is someone who is willing to stand up and say that is wrong and that should not be done, and actually fight for it. But then again, when a global citizen is wrong, or when a global citizen does a missteps, he or she is someone who is willing to take responsibility for it and admit that they are wrong, and be ready to face the consequences of it. So a global citizen essentially is someone who not only cares about themselves, but cares even about the society and the people around them. A global citizen cares about the world, cares about the people, cares about the values that the society face, and a global citizen is someone who is willing to stand with their values and fight for them. So necessarily, global citizenship is a movement that all of us as the youth can actually take part in such a world that requires all of us to be active, and a world that requires all of us to solve the solutions. And necessarily, because all of us come from very different backgrounds, global citizenship does not say that we necessarily have to take up the political seats or the social seats, ladies and gentlemen. A global citizenship says that we recognize the environment that we are in, and in our very small contribution, take steps to actually make our society better and change change it. I believe that it is something we can all do. I believe by taking up one value and sharing it, or being uncomfortable with one injustice and sharing it with our friends and actually educating our friends, we can be able to achieve global citizenship and make the world better. Thank you.